Hafaday, I'm Regine Bisco Lee, the CEO and President of the Guam Visitors Bureau.
And I'm Marie Calvamonge, the CEO of KUAM Communications, and we're proud to be co-hosting the first inaugural episode of Women Rising, our monthly podcast with the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce.
Every month we'll be sharing candid, casual, and intimate chats with women making waves in our community, and useful news, advice, and everything women in business on Guam. So let's get into it today. We're joined by GWCC President Dina Rendon Pangilinan, Hafaday.
Hafaday, thank you
and
so much.
past President and current Treasurer Samantha Taitano. Hafaday, ladies.
Good morning.
Yay. We're just going to dive right into it and kind of discuss, for many people who might be tuning in, obviously for the first time, what is the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce? What's our mission? What are some of the benefits of membership? So I just wanted to throw that out to you.
Okay, great. Thank you. So Guam Women's Chamber is a home really where we help women advance in business through networking, mentorship, and a resource location for everyone. And our vision is really that Guam would be a place of business where women would have equal participation in the future of business of Guam.
Awesome. Yeah. Sam, anything to add?
No, that's pretty much what we do. As far as like the benefits, of course, networking is always a huge benefit. But we also have lots of resources, as Dina was mentioning. We do a lot of professional development programs, which Marie actually is at the helm of. Yeah. Of course, we have our Fanatsu Famalawan conference that we hold every year, which is just an amazing experience of bringing around 300 to 400 women together on our island to really just kind of talk about different things from leadership to self-care, but it's all really about development and kind of continuing to build that community and network while still making sure that we're providing women with resources to help advance them in their careers and in their lives.
Yeah. I love Fanatsu. I just think that the energy in the room when we all get together is phenomenal, and every single year it just seems to get better and better. So I'm really looking forward to what we're going to do this year.
One of the things that I really love also about the Guam Women's Chamber is that it creates a safe space, and there's this community that it's built with women who are in different stages of their career. Right. I've made some really great friends through the GWCC. So can you guys just share more about what it means to you and just building that safe space and the importance of having that community and those people that champion you and lift you up and empower you? Like, what is your
I agree. Just like you said, in all stages, really, like the Women's Chamber is a place for anyone in any stage, any age of their career, whether you're just starting, going a route on your own, an entrepreneur, or wanting to, climb a corporate ladder. So you say there's a space for everybody. And then, of course, even transitioning into different elements of business later in life, and so there's always that. There's mentorship both ways. Recently, we've even talked about reverse mentorship, where, we have the young generation even teaching some of the older generation
and so
things.
Much to learn from
Absolutely. And so the mentorship and the friendships and the connections can really go both ways. But definitely, one of the important things about that is that while we're navigating our journeys and our careers, whichever phase or stage you may be in, there's people there to remind you that you're not alone, that more than what Sam talked about, which is obviously the meat, the development, the skills, the professional classes and training. Of course, where do I go to get my business license? Where do I go to get this? Something. There's always someone to answer a question. But beyond that, there's somebody to bounce your fears, doubts, your vents. We all walk in that door. We're all women living on this island together and all navigating our community, whether we're mothers or daughters, wives. So it's important to not feel crazy as we navigate all these titles and challenges, in our lives. So that's what I really appreciate about the Women's Chamber, is that genuine connection that we have with each other.
Yeah, and kind of to add on that, when we're thinking about like creating safe spaces for women, you know, we're really creating community. And when you think about business, you know, a lot of times you see statistics. Talking about statistics, you see statistics where, you know, a man is willing to apply for a job when he meets, like, I don't know what the exact statistic is, but like 50% of the
Right.
qualifications.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas a woman is much more crucial, or, you know, being like, okay, no, I need to meet all of this in order to even apply for a job. And I think when you build that community, when women start to feel seen, heard, and supported by other people within the community, it really helps to develop their confidence in themselves so that they're willing to kind of, you know, take those next steps, take those risks. Like Dina was saying, have those conversations where, you know, you're able to share a little bit more about, you know, I'm thinking about this, but I'm not quite sure. And you're really able to kind of bounce things off of other people. And those are kind of the crucial steps that are seen behind the scenes that kind of help women get to those next stages, you know, whether it's, you know, opening their own business or, you know, applying for that job or asking for that promotion, you know. So I think that just building that community so that there's a safe place for people to, again, not feel like they're crazy and be able
Or
to have,
alone.
or crazy or alone. They're able to have these honest conversations that can lead to them really, you know, rising. So
Absolutely.
I've definitely felt supported and encouraged by the women at the GWCC. And I feel like sometimes when you're kind of in that unsure moment, you're trying to maybe make a different career choice or go out for a new position, anything like that. I feel like many of the relationships that have been nurtured and cultivated at the Women's Chamber have led me to find that support and that encouragement. Because a lot of times you're so busy doing all the things that you do in your daily life, you forget time, you know. So sometimes, my most recent experience is, I've been thinking about, you know, how I've managed people in the past and, you know, what my background is. And then somebody from the Women's Chamber will say, hey, don't forget you did this. Don't forget you contributed to this. And, you know, you're, oh my gosh, I forgot. I'm going to add that to my resume. But just sometimes we need that support, that encouragement, and those reminders that we do have the skills, we do have the background, and we, you know, are taking things from different parts of our lives and applying it to the work that we're doing. So that's really important.
Yeah, and I think when we say building community, I think on Guam we're very social, you know, with events and then in our personal lives. And I feel like, you know, because of that, sometimes those connections, it's really created, you know, through what I've found through the GWCC is that it's built this community so that it's not just on the superficial level, like, oh, I'm going to rub elbows with the CEO of this company or GVB or wherever.
Really meaningful.
It's not just a see and be
Absolutely.
seen type environment, and it's really getting that. And I think some people maybe not knowing, you know, what we're about, they think that, but I think it's really like fostering these deep connections, just almost like a support group where you whatever you're going through on your career journey, you find that you're not alone. I think that in and of itself is just so empowering.
Yeah,
For sure, super
absolutely.
invaluable.
I agree.
So we wanted to kind of shift the conversation a little bit and maybe discuss about women in leadership. And we're all women leaders at this table, and many of the people who are going to be tuning in are leaders in their own right. So we wanted to just talk a little bit about statistics. I know you were bringing some of that up. So where are we? Like, what is our current status of women leaders on Guam, would you say?
I don't have the exact numbers, but you know, just kind of looking at the landscape that we have here, right? We have our first, you know, female governor who's, you know, on her second term. We're seeing women kind of rise up and take a lot of leadership positions. You guys are both in very high leadership positions.
Absolutely.
So I think that there is definitely making good strides. Although there's always room for improvement, I think, when we think about women taking leadership roles on the island. But I think that it also has a lot to deal with just culturally. I think that culturally in Guam, there is a lot more respect for women than, say, maybe in other cultures. And so I think that plays a role in it. But yeah, I think that there can definitely be improvements, and we can see more women in leadership positions. But I want to say that over the past decade, we've definitely seen women rising.
Yeah.
But with that
I
said,
agree.
what are some of the challenges that, people may be watching this, new to a career, who just did a career pivot, wondering, okay, that's great. We champion when we empower. How do I get there? What are the steps, that I need to take? And what are some of the challenges that we encounter? Do you guys feel? Or
And, sort of piggybacking off of what Sam was just sharing with there being a lot of significant change and efforts towards that growth, always room for improvement. We do see a lot of women in leadership now. But one of the unique challenges Guam also has that can be a little bittersweet is there really are only so many companies, positions, and so-called top positions, right? So again, going back to support, the key is, connections like this that women can feel support and learn to support each other. So as those positions do open up and we grow business on Guam, we help and build each other up versus trying to hold these spots to ourselves.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much for that. And we want to give you both an opportunity to kind of talk a little bit about your career path and what has your path been to your current leadership roles.
Okay, I can start. I guess I'll take us back a little bit. So I graduated with a Bachelor's of Fine Art from the Academy of Art University. I worked a little bit in post-production, actually, right after college. But something that I knew that I always wanted to do was join the Peace Corps. So probably a year after I graduated, a year from working in post-production, I kind of decided, you know what? I'm just going to do it because, the most they can do is just say, no, Sam, we don't want you.
how old were you?
Yeah, right. So I applied, and then I want to say within a year, I was flying to South Africa.
Wow.
So I was a Peace Corps volunteer in South Africa for 2.5 years. I primarily kind of worked in education and community development. But while I was there, I kind of really found a great interest in the culture that they had and just kind of how they were weaving in their culture with a more westernized culture that's kind of, taking over. And so kind of doing that community work, it kind of really ignited a passion within me. But, then my time there kind of ended. I came back to Guam. I was only supposed to be here for about 6 months. I had 2 friends who were getting married. But I got offered a job actually at a local tech company here. And it had a lot to deal with their branding. And so because I studied film and I had done primarily post-production in film school. I also have, a lot of background when it comes to Illustrator and a lot of the, post-production, graphic design stuff. So I was actually really interested in the position. So was working there for a while. Of course, growing kind of what I was doing within that organization. But at the same time, I kind of felt this pull back to doing community work. And so I became, I kind of volunteered with Habitat for Humanity for a while. So, for here, you can only really do fundraisers for them. But I wanted to do something a little bit more hands-on. So I became a big sister with Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Guam.
Okay.
Yes.
I know where this is
I know,
going.
sorry. It's a long story,
Yeah, I
but it
love
all. But so after, I was a big sister, still working at the tech company, and then I found out that they were kind of looking for an executive director for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Guam, and so I was like, the most they can do is say no.
Yeah.
So
Just out there. That's so great. Sam.
yeah, so I applied, and then I got accepted and took over Big Brothers Big Sisters of Guam, transitioned it into Minyetlu, grew the organization from about 10 people to about 30 people over the course of 5 years. And then while I was kind of doing all of that, even when I was still at the tech company, I was already going to the GCA Trades Academy. So I've studied construction craft labor, I've studied carpentry, and then I've also studied HVAC. So this is like all happening after work, right? With the eventuality knowing that I would be kind of taking over the family business for my parents. And so kind of around the 5-year mark at Manyetlu, it just started to kind of become that like natural transition time to kind of start to take over. And so that's what I'm doing now is I'm working the family business. It's residential apartments. And so, I mean, I do a lot of the paperwork, the background stuff, but I also do a lot of the maintenance. And so like all of those things in the Trades Academy kind of helped me to make sure that I was confident. And then even when I'm working with contractors, I'm confident in knowing and being like, I don't know.
Have we considered this? Have we tried this?
Yeah.
When I think Renaissance women, I think I have your face in my head.
Yeah, so, and then actually I've been really fortunate because of a lot of the work that I did with Manyetlu, and then because of Manyetlu with the Guam Homeless Coalition and now the Women's Chamber, I do have a lot of background in strategic planning, so now I also do some consulting. And so it's just been, that's kind of my career path and my journey to leadership is I just kind of kept saying, well, the most they can do is say no and just kind of keep applying. And, you know, in the background of that as well, though, there's a lot of self-development that I did. So like when I was coming into the executive director role of a nonprofit, I was also listening to podcasts, reading things, making sure that I was keeping myself educated and prepared. So it's like, it's about making sure that you're able to take those chances, but at the same time, knowing that there's work that you have to do on yourself as well.
Sure.
Did you ever face fears about, you know, with self-doubt or the imposter syndrome in kind of pivoting careers so dramatically, or like your career path has taken many twists and turns?
It's taken many twists and turns. And so I think that with everything, a lot of times there is that imposter syndrome. You're just like, I mean, even today, I'm just like, I don't understand. Why do people like, you know, want to know what I have to say, right? It's just like that kind of like fear that you have inside. But kind of talking about what Regine was saying, you have those people who are behind you that are just like, hey, but remember you did all of this stuff.
Right.
You know, it's like you did this.
Yeah.
Like you are very capable. You know, it's
And
and
only you can tell your story.
Yeah.
None of us can. Like
Absolutely.
none of
Yeah.
us had those same experiences. So.
And you don't have to fit into a box. I
Yes.
think you're a testament to that when we look at it's very inspiring. Like, you know, you don't have to just, this is my career, this is my trade. You can keep evolving, keep growing, keep taking on new things. Dina,
Absolutely.
can you share a bit about yours?
Well, that
Because you're interesting.
after, but
Dina's
yeah,
like,
take it
ditto,
way back.
ditto girl.
I like landed in my career really just totally by accident, but even taking it way back to just getting to Guam. You know, I was in high school and was researching. I just really had this urge and passion to travel and to move. And it wasn't to like leave behind my family or anything bad, or it was to just grow and navigate the world. And I really wanted to do it on my own. So I researched colleges and abroad. And what I found was Guam Community College and UOG. And I said, what is this? You know, like, where has this been hiding and why do we not learn about this? Anyways, that's another topic.
Wow.
But I started, you know, staying up late at night, like 15, 16 years old, researching Guam. And my parents ran their own business. I definitely helped in the household with different things without even knowing that would help me in the future. Office management type skills, you know, because it was such a family grounded business that they ran. It was construction and painting and different sorts. But anyways, the whole family was involved. Through that, I decided to tell my mom, you know, hey, I'm going to move to Guam. And I had put together a PowerPoint presentation basically to show her in high school. And I had like, you know, ideas of jobs, ideas of villages. Like I knew what I was talking about, where I was going to live, like apartments. This is how much it costs. Like I'm just Googling stuff. Like the biggest thing I have to worry about are dogs on the road. That's what I saw on a blog.
You didn't see the snakes?
Totally.
That seems like what everybody.
That wasn't too bad. So.
But Dina, your family had never been here before.
Nobody, no connection to Guam, nobody.
Wow.
But I just really had this urge, you know. So
Well, we were waiting for you.
yeah.
It was meant
So
to
you know,
be.
my dad in that, I guess when I was graduating, I still needed to build a little bit of capital for myself to get out here. So my dad offered me a gift to go to Colombia and live with my grandmother for a certain amount of months. I ended up being there about half a year. And basically that was to like ensure that I was okay to be away from the family, you know,
Training wheels.
training wheels.
Yeah.
And I was in a completely different country. I had never been with my abuela for long periods of time, nor by myself. I had never been away from the family at that time, but I was really excited. So I learned so much just being with the culture and the family there, navigating on my own and budgeting and everything. So it was just a really great learning experience. I left there, and then I had a little opportunity land on my lap to take an au pair job in Dubai.
Ooh.
And I
Wow.
thought, you know, I'm not quite ready financially for Guam. It's there, it's right there, but I'm going to do this because it's going to be a couple months of work with kids. And I, you know, failed to mention, but in high school, I did a lot of child development studying and ROTC classes and got certified for preschool. So actually, my original background is child development. So
Okay.
kind of interesting, the segments. But yeah, so I took this job as an au pair in Dubai. My family really thought they were saying goodbye to me forever at the airport, dropping me off. I was 18 years old. And, you know, it was really another life transforming experience.
I'm sure.
Being in a totally different country and culture shock, and really being such a minority as well there. So that was really interesting. I did that for a few months, learned a lot, made the finances, and moved out to Guam. When I got to Guam, I learned very quickly that I wanted to stay and that I wanted to have somewhat of a stable career. So I did spend a few years, you know, bartending, working in restaurants and stuff. But one night, you know, like divine intervention, one night I was actually held up at gunpoint at a restaurant that I was closing in Hagåtña. And I think when that happened, it was just like, okay, Dina, switch. You got to do something a little more. Yeah. So I actually went to the temp agency on Guam. I researched, I'm like, I'm going to find something, a career I can build, you know.
Right.
And so they put me in with the shipyard at the time. And I was like a secretary for the port engineers.
Wow.
It was my first time in maritime, my first time around maritime. I didn't know much about it. Really took it for granted, actually, at the time, if you think about it.
Yeah.
As probably a lot of people do by accident, just by not knowing. So that was really my foot in the door to the maritime industry. And once
then
I
you
was
built-
there, you know, I was able to find other opportunities. Very quickly found an opening with Cabras Marine and ended up being with them for 13 and a half years,
Amazing.
actually. And so starting there, I started off as a dispatcher, really just navigating a schedule. But it grew to so much more. It grew to connections with customers.
I love
It
that.
grew to growing a culture of crew where we were probably about 20 crew members at the time. And through my 13 years, eventually ended up with 60 to 70 full-time crew members and then 20 to 30 contractors on rotations.
Okay.
The
a lot to
business,
manage.
absolutely. And the business grew so much, not just for Cabras, but the surrounding companies. More ships were coming in. The military buildup brought more ships, more training and exercises. So through the years, I developed basically my own position and grew through the past from dispatcher and ended up becoming the administrator for the Marine Operations Department. And with that, there was so many different elements to the career. There was the customer service with all of the different, because we had military and commercial customers. There was a workforce development. There was the people, the crew. So as we grew the crew, it's growing their skills and their development. So training, which a lot of it was off island until Cabras actually made an investment for local training, and they opened up a sort of a maritime training school over in Pidi. And so then we were able to actually educate and grow the local workforce here without having to send. So that was actually a big
deal.
big change.
And
Yeah.
you contributed to all that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it was really, really great work. And, aside from all of that, I also had to implement a lot of maintenance on the boats, which was totally left field. But like Sam said, stay up late, read those reports,
Figure it out.
learn
Yeah.
what you're, going
Figure
at.
it out,
But
yeah.
navigating Coast Guard and inspections and maintenance on vessels and schedules with port engineers and shipyards and all these different aspects. So while trying to, do the groundwork to keep the bottom flowing, the foundation flowing, keep the morale there, but also make sure our customers get what they need. It was very dynamic and challenging, very fast paced. Probably what I loved about it was every day was different,
Yeah.
Every day was absolutely completely different, and such a challenge in that. But definitely being a woman in that space, in that industry, not many women around me, although we were a woman-owned business. But the dominant male dominant industry is definitely significant there with all my customers and within the company. Not just that, every person that I was working with and managing on the boats were 100% male.
Wow.
So, and most of the time a completely different nationality and culture, and most of the time older and a completely different generation. So we had multi-generation and multi-cultures, people coming from all over the world. But I think that being a woman in leadership, one of our advantages is compassion. And so empathy, connection. So those were definitely things that helped me grow and rise in my career was, we could be bold and strong. And like Sam said, the worst thing is a no. I can pull my bosses to the side and say, okay, I think it's time for, my career path and my pay and my title, things to be looked at. Those are all, surface things that we can do. But beyond that is really like growing that connection so that your team, builds that trust so that you can all grow together. And hope that that everyone who needs to see it sees it too, right? But that was really like where the passion came from, was that connection and that building that team and growing together, and just really feeling at the end of the day like Mawar, huge storms could pass, typhoons. The devastation is unreal. That's a whole other podcast in itself. But being able to pull through it together and come through it, come to the other side, it's really such a special feeling. So I really appreciate that growth and that development through that career. It was a very dynamic career for so many years.
Thank you so much for sharing
yeah,
that.
and now I'm in a transition, and we're brewing our we're 8 months brewing
I love
with our
it.
third
That's
baby.
it, yeah.
And
First time
Very
on
one
the
of it, so
I know, first time on the pod.
While we still have you, before we wrap, we wanted to do a rapid fire question with you. Just 2 questions. And so the first would be, in one sentence, or try in one sentence, what advice would you give your younger self?
Young Dina.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
One sentence.
Buy a house.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay.
Yeah.
Buy a house. Okay, Sam?
Just do it.
Just do it.
Love
I love
you
it.
got yours?
Oh, I wasn't thinking. I was thinking
let's do it too.
that
Let's do it too.
Advice to your younger self. It just gets better. Like, keep
love
going
it.
because it just gets better. Yeah.
Mine would be, don't take everything personally.
Ooh. Still learning
I
that
wish.
one.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so we couldn't figure out if we were going to do song or favorite podcast. So either one. So let us know, what song do you have on repeat, or what podcast are you listening to?
Currently, actually have a local song on repeat. Choose Me. It just got
I love
debuted,
that song.
and it's just so beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Jelena did such a great,
Yeah.
but their harmonies, the
It's
message.
gorgeous. Yes.
So
The video,
I can't stop
everything.
listening to it. Yeah.
It is beautiful.
And crying my eyes out
I
too,
know,
but it's
so
beautiful.
Choose
It's a
Me.
beautiful song. So recently, it's been Fade Into You, Maisie Star.
That's an oldie
classic.
but a
It's
goodie.
good.
It's so
Classic.
good. So there is this young woman. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name right, but it's Keniye Kenya, I think.
Okay.
She's half Tongan, half Chamorro. I think she's from the Bay.
Oh,
And
yes.
if you find her on Spotify, what a gem. Like, so everything, she had a new LP that just released last year, but I've been listening to all of her stuff. So shout out to her.
Nice.
Okay, I'm gonna sound like the superficial pop girly.
That's
But
okay.
there's reasons behind it. So I've been listening to Lady Gaga's new album,
Yes,
Mayhem.
Abracadabra.
And there's a song, How Bad Do You Want Me? But my reason, if I want to sound like I'm deeper and more introspective, I listen to it because it reminds me so much. She was the soundtrack of both of my daughters' life. And so this kind of like feels like a throwback album, and it reminds me of like their middle school years when they were into accessories
Shout out
and
to
like
Noe and
playing their
Reese.
yes. And so that it brings me, you know, to my feels. And
I
so
love that.
that's mine.
Very nice.
Love it.
Very nice. Ladies, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
And
you.
for sharing even just a small tidbit of, you know, your incredible stories with
Thank
us.
you.
Yeah, we
Thank
need
you
a
both.
part 2.
For sure.
There's just so much.
I'm like, I want to learn more about Colombia and more about South America from both of you.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you. Thank you for
Thank
having us.
you.
All right. All right. Well, now we're going to move to our director's take, and we want to invite Rachel Davis, our executive director, to the conversation. Off day, Rachel.
Hey,
Hey,
thank you so
girl.
much for having me.
It's
so
been a
excited.
busy few months at the Women's Chamber. So we just wanted to give you a chance to update our listeners, our audience, on what's been going on.
For sure. And can we talk about what an amazing year it's already been?
It has been incredible.
We've already launched our first general membership meeting. It was such a success at the Crown Plaza, and we'll be holding all our events there for the year, quarterly. We also did have our legislative breakfast, which was an absolute success, bringing in senators, policymakers, and very important people who can make change in our community to talk with our members and really help drive change in our community. And then, of course, the fun competition and on the green, our golf tournament. Very amazing. That's actually our biggest fundraiser of the year. So that was such a wonderful event to bring our community, increase friendly competition, as well as build connections and network.
And that was super fun.
Yes.
Yay.
And so much
shout
more to
out the-
come.
So-
everybody who came out for golf.
Correct. And then lastly, most recent, we celebrated the Top 25 Mixer at our Women's Business Center. So that was such a beautiful time, bringing all the trailblazers on Guam in one room. It was such an impactful and inspiring evening.
I love that for us,
Yeah.
and a great way to celebrate Women's History Month.
Showcase so
and-
many women in our
Yeah.
community.
I know. We're off to a
Celebrate.
bang.
Yeah. But I think the most difficult part was like picking those top 25 because the list can go on and on. Honestly, top
Yes.
So many.
2,500 women
Yeah.
would be
Yeah.
hard.
Not
I
nearly
think
enough.
that's the theme of today, you know, in kicking this off is that there are so many women that are exceptional in their own right.
Yeah.
So with that said, if you want to become a member,
Yes.
where we celebrate and build community and safe
Correct.
space with all these
Mhm.
wonderful women,
How do you do
how
that?
do you do it?
Well, we're not just a chamber. We're a community of women, and we're always looking for new members and sponsors to join us, continue helping us grow and drive meaningful change. You can inquire at our website at www.guamwomenschamber.com/membership. And also send me an email if you have any questions about inquiring on what we offer or the programs and resources we have available for your business, whether you're in the starting stage or you're looking to level up. We're the perfect resource, and you can reach out at connect@guamwomenschamber.com.
That's great. And we're also on social media.
And social media,
Yes, ma'am.
Instagram.
Instagram.
Our marketing
Facebook,
is
all of it.
Yes. We relaunched our marketing committee this year, and it's just been off to a wonderful start. So Instagram at Guam Women's Chamber, as well as LinkedIn. That's another great resource to connect with us.
Thank you so much, Rachel.
Yes.
Viva GWCC.
Viva GWCC.
And with that, our inaugural GWCC Women Rising podcast is in the books.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Reggie.
Nice
Check-
job.
we
Nice
checking
job.
this
Nice
one out.
job.
Join us
Whoa.
every month
Thank you.
Yeah,
for
Yes.
a new episode.
And we'll
Like,
see you at our
subscribe,
next. Yeah.
follow us.
And upcoming, we have our second general membership meeting on April 10th at the Crown Plaza Resort in Tumon from 8 to 10 a.m. And it's going to be such an exciting day. We're theming in Power Hour, and we're going to be having so many great surprises for you all.
There you go. Check us out on social for more information.
There you go.
Thanks, Rach.
Thank you.
Women Rising on the KUAM Podcast Network is produced by the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce. Learn more about the GWCC by visiting their website, www.guamwomenschamber.com, or any of their social media accounts. Join us next month for another episode.